everyone, welcome to Try Right. This is Pack 365, myself Srija. Today we are going to learn about the remaining organs of the digestive system. And let's start the session. Now, the small intestine. In the previous session, in the previous video, we have learned about the mouth and stomach, right? And then next to the stomach is connected to the small intestine. What is small intestine? Here you can see the picture of the small intestine. This is the stomach. Stomach is entering into the last part, and in the first part of the small intestine, duodenum. Stomach is connected to the duodenum. And small intestine, it is a long coiled muscular tube that connects the stomach to the large intestine. This is the main site for the digestion. A small intestine, it is the main site for the digestion and also absorption of the nutrients. It lies in the central and lower part of the abdominal cavity. Okay, it is made up of three segments. Here you can see in the picture, it is made up of three segments. What are they? Duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. Duodenum. Coming to duodenum, it is the first segment of the small intestine. This is the shortest and C-shaped present around the head of the pancreas. This is the small intestine, right? Here you can see the small intestine, and this is the stomach. And here you can see the C-shaped structure, right? And this is the duodenum. So it is the first segment of the small intestine, which is the shortest and C-shaped present around the head of the pancreas. It receives chyme. Chyme means, what do you mean by chyme? It is a partially digested food. It receives chyme from the stomach, and it also receives the bile from the liver through bile duct to digest the fats. It receives the pancreatic juices rich in enzymes to digest the proteins and carbohydrates. The main function of the duodenum is it mixes the chyme with digestive juices, which is called as the center of the chemical digestion. And coming to the second part of the small intestine, that is jejunum. And this is jejunum. Jejunum, it is the middle portion of the small intestine. It lies in the after left part of the abdomen. Its inner surface has finger-like projects called villi and also microvilli. What does this villi and microvilli do? This increases the surface area. The main function of the jejunum is it absorbs the nutrients like sugars, amino acids, and fatty acids into the blood. And the next part next to the jejunum is ileum. It is the last part of the small intestine, and this ileum, it connects to the long intestine. So what is ileum? The final and longest part of the small intestine. It ends at the ileocecal wall. This directly connects to the large intestine. So what is the main function of the ileum? It absorbs with vitamin B12, bile salts, and also the remaining nutrients. So there are many functions of the small intestine. Actually, small intestine performs major functions in the process of the complete digestion. What are the functions of the small intestine? Digestion, absorption, secretion, protection, and movement. So what does it do in the process of digestion? It completes the digestion of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Whereas coming to the absorption, it transfers the nutrients into the bloodstream and also into the lymph. And secretion. In secretion, it produces the mucus and enzymes for smooth digestion. This mucus, it helps for the food for the smooth digestion. I mean, it makes to easily digest the food. And protection. It also protects the small intestine. It also protects the body having immune cells. Immune cells, nothing but it has Peyer's patches, which have the capability of defending against the microbes. And also the last function of the small intestine is it is the movement. It helps in movement. What movement? How it helps in the movement? It uses the peristaltis. As I said, where does the peristaltis occurs? It occurs in the esophagus, right? And it uses the peristaltis and segmentation to mix and move the contents. And now coming to the next part, And these are the pancreas and gallbladder. These are the axillary organs of the digestive system, right? So pancreas, it secretes digestive enzymes into duodenum that break down protein, fats, and carbohydrates. This is the function of the pancreas, right? What it does do, it secretes the digestive enzymes into duodenum and that break down the protein, fats, and carbohydrates. This pancreas, you can see here the picture of the pancreas, and the yellow colored one is the pancreas, right? This is the head of the pancreas, this is the body of the pancreas, and this is the tail of the pancreas. In between you have the lobules of the pancreas and also the ducts of the pancreas. And this pancreas, it is located behind the stomach. This is stomach, right? And this is located behind the stomach, extending from the duodenum to the spleen. This pancreas, it has both exocrine and endocrine functions. It also secretes the digestive enzymes like insulin. And the endocrine function is digestive role. What digestive role it plays? It produces the pancreatic juice which contains amylase. This amylase, it helps in breaking down the starch, and also it produces the lipase. What does lipase do? This lipase, it digests the fats, and also trypsin and chymotrypsin. This pancreas, it also produces trypsin and chymotrypsin which help to digest the proteins. And this pancreatic juice, after production of the pancreatic juices, this pancreatic juice, it's released into the duodenum. Here you can see the pink colored one, it is the duodenum, and this pancreatic juice, it is released into the duodenum through the pancreatic duct. And this is the exocrine function. And when coming to the endocrine function, it plays a hormonal role. What does it play? It produces insulin and glucagon. These are the major hormones we do require in our body. So what does this insulin and glucagon do? This control the blood sugar levels. Overall function is it helps to digest all the food types, carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. And after pancreas, next axillary organ of the digestive system is gallbladder. Here you can see the picture of the gallbladder, and this is the body of the gallbladder. This is the neck of the gallbladder. This is cystic duct, right hepatic duct, left hepatic duct, common hepatic duct. And what are these right hepatic duct, left hepatic duct, common hepatic duct? These are the ducts that connect the liver and the gallbladder, right? So the name itself, hepatic, hepato means liver. And then here to the downwards, it has the common bile duct and also the pancreatic duct, and these are connected through pancreas. And the gallbladder, as you can see in the picture, it is a small pear-shaped organ which is located just beneath the liver. I said you right, these ducts are connected to the liver. So this is just located beneath the liver. Its main job is to store and concentrate bile. Actually, liver produces bile pigment, right? Liver produces bile pigment, whereas this gallbladder, it stores the bile which is produced by the liver. And this bile, it is a digestive fluid that is made by the liver. And bile helps your body to digest and absorb fats from the food you eat. So when you eat a fatty meal, this gallbladder, it releases the bile into the duodenum through this pancreatic ducts and common bile duct. So the gallbladder, it releases the bile into the duodenum, which is the first part of the small intestine. Okay, and from there bile mixes with the food and helps break down large fat molecules into the smaller ones, so making it easier for the intestines to absorb the nutrients. So gallbladder works like a storage and a delivery system for bile. It saves bile until it's needed, and then it releases it to help with the fat digestion, right? And this is all about the gallbladder. I'm coming to the next organ of the digestive system. What is this? Liver. Liver is an accessory organ of the digestive system. Here you can see the picture of the liver. Here you can see the gallbladder connecting to the liver, and liver has two lobes. One is right lobe and it is left lobe. Right lobe and left lobe. Here hepatic artery, and this is the portal vein, and this is the bile duct which is connected to gallbladder. And liver, it is the largest internal organ in the body. It is located in the upper right side of the abdomen under the diaphragm. It is divided into right and left lobes. I already said you, it is divided into right lobe and left lobe. And right lobe is slightly bigger than the left lobe. And it is connected to the gallbladder and small intestine via the bile duct. It is connected to the gallbladder and small intestine via the bile duct. Liver has many functions, but its main job with the digestive system is what? As I already told, to process the nutrients absorbed from the small intestine. So first the nutrients are absorbed from the food by the small intestine, and then after absorbing the nutrients, to process the nutrients, here the liver is helpful. So there are many functions of liver like bile production, metabolism, detoxification, storage, synthesis, and also the immune function. So what is bile production? What does the liver do in the bile production? It produces about 800 to 1000 milliliters of bile daily, right? 800 to 1000 milliliters of bile daily. This bile, it emulsifies fats which break down large fat globules into smaller ones. And the other function of liver is metabolism. It processes carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. It converts glucose into glycogen and also the vice versa. Liver also performs detoxification. What do you mean by detoxification? Removal of toxins from the blood. So it removes toxins and drugs from the blood which are not useful for the body. So it removes all the unwanted and harmful toxins from the blood. It also performs a storage function where it stores the glycogen, vitamins A, vitamin D, vitamin B12, and also minerals like iron and copper. It also helps in synthesis of plasma proteins like albumin, fibrinogen, and cholesterol. The immune function of liver is to contain Kupffer cells that destroy old blood cells and bacteria, right? And liver is also called as body's chemical factory because it helps to remove the unwanted material or the toxin material and also the harmful material from the blood. It breaks down and secretes many drugs that can be toxic to your body. And then next, coming to the large intestine. And large intestine, small intestine is connected to the large intestine, and this is the final part of the digestive tract. So what large intestine is helpful in, why it is helpful in digestive process, what main role it plays? I already said you in the previous slide that it absorbs water and electrolytes from the undigested food, right? It absorbs the water and the electrolytes from the undigested food, and it eliminates the unwanted waste from the body in the form of feces. And here you can see the picture of the large intestine. Large intestine, it consists mainly of three parts. What are they? Colon, rectum, and anus, right? Colon, rectum, and anus. This colon is again divided into four types of colons. What are they? Ascending, transverse, descending, and sigmoid colon. Here you can see this is a cecum. Cecum with appendix. Here cecum is connected to the appendix, and next to the cecum you can see here ileocecal wall, and then the ascending colon, and then the transverse colon. This is the transverse colon, this is the ascending colon, and next to the transverse colon you can find here the descending colon, and then the sigmoid colon, and after the colon you can find the last parts of the digestive system is rectum and anus. So this large intestine, it works with a microbiome of bacteria to further process waste, producing vitamins like K and some B vitamins. So coming to the first part of the large intestine is colon. Colon, it is also known as the large intestine. Its main job is to process waste from food so that it can be easily removed from the body. This colon, it is about 6 feet long and it connects the small intestine to the rectum. As I already said, this colon has 5 main parts. What are they? Cecum, ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colon, and sigmoid colon. As in the below slide, this ascending colon, you can see the cecum, it's a beginning of the colon, and ascending colon, it goes up the right side of the abdomen, whereas the transverse colon, it runs across the upper part of the abdomen, and then descending colon, it travels down the left side. And sigmoid colon, the S-shaped end part, you can see it's in the S shape, right? So that's what it is named as sigmoid colon. It is the S-shaped end part that connects to the rectum. So after food is digested and nutrients are absorbed in the small intestine, the leftover waste, it enters the colon in the liquid form. So the muscles of the colon push this waste along using the peristalsis, which is nothing but a wave-like contractions. As the waste moves through, the colon absorbs water and changes it into solid stool. You know what is meant by a stool, right? The stool is then stored in the sigmoid colon until a mass movement pushes it into the rectum, where it's eventually released during a bowel movement. And the colon also contains a good bacteria that helps make certain vitamins like vitamin K and some B vitamins. It also breaks down leftover food particles and it also protects the body from harmful bacteria. This colon, it usually takes about 36 hours per stool to pass completely through the colon and then sent to the next part of the small intestine, that is rectum. And next, coming to the rectum, you can see the picture of the rectum. It is a continuation part and connecting part of the colon. This rectum, it is the last part of the digestive system. It is straight. You can see here, it is straight 8-inch long chamber that connects the colon to the anus. The main functions of the rectum are to receive the stool from the colon, to hold the stool until it is ready to be passed out of the body, to signal the brain when it's time for a bowel movement. When stool or gas enters the colon, so when stool or gas, it enters the rectum, sensors in the rectal walls, they send messages to the brain. So what happens when message is sent to the brain? The brain then decides whether it is a suitable time to release the stool. If it is the right time, the rectum contracts. This rectum contracts and the anal sphincters, muscles at the end of the rectum, relax, allowing the stool to leave the body through the anus. If it is not the right time, the sphincters tighten and the rectum relaxes, storing the stool until you are ready to go to the toilet. So this process, it helps the body control when waste is released, making bowel movements voluntary and convenient, right? And next, after rectum, rectum is connected to the anus. This anus is a final part of the digestive system. It is a 2-inch long canal that allows waste and also stool to leave the body. Here you can see the picture of the anus and this is the anal canal, and here you can see the external anal sphincters and internal anal sphincter, and external anal sphincter has 2 parts, sufficient part, superficial part and also subcutaneous part. Here you can see the anal sinus and here you can see the anal wall, and also this anal wall is made up of the circular muscles, longitudinal muscles, right? And this anus, it is made up of a pelvic floor muscles and 2 ring-like muscles called as anal sphincters. So there are internal anal sphincter and external anal sphincter. This internal anal sphincter, here you can see the internal anal sphincter, right? next to the anal sinus, and this works automatically and stays closed most of the time to keep stool from leaking out. And what does this external anal sphincter do? It is under the voluntary control, meaning you can consciously relax it when you are ready to pass stool. So when you are consciously ready to pass the stool, this external anal sphincter activates and it passes the stool from your body. And then the lining of upper anus has special sensors that can detect whether the contents are gas, liquid or solid. This helps your body decide how to respond. And the pelvic floor muscles, these also play an important role. They create an angle between the rectum and the anus, which helps keep stool inside until the right time to go to the toilet. And this anus, it is surrounded by the sphincter muscles that are important in allowing control of the stool. So when stool enters the rectum, the internal sphincter relaxes slightly, signaling that it's time for a bowel movement. If it's not good time, the external sphincter and pelvic muscles tighten, holding the stool until you're ready. So this coordination of muscles helps maintaining continence. So what do you mean by continence? Its meaning is control over when you pass the stool, even when you're asleep or unaware. So this role is done by the anus or the anal canal, which is the last part of the digestive system. And this is all about today. This is all about today. And in this session, we have learned the brief description of the digestive system. And in the next session, we will be learning about the coding related to the digestive system. And thank you.